What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Faceoff Sports Network. I am Nate Polvogt, joined by my friend and co-host Anthony Cervino. We are here to talk about NFL injuries here in Week 1, things that could impact your lineup, and things that you can do to protect yourself moving forward this week and possibly in the future if some of these injuries do linger. Anthony, let's get right into it with our first set here. We have the New York Giants. We have two significant injuries here. We have Darren Waller, who is questionable with a hamstring injury. And then we've got Wan'Dale Robinson, who is questionable with an ankle injury. Anthony, what do you think the probability is that these two guys play on Sunday? And if they don't play, what are you doing about it?
Wan'Dale, I think both of these guys have a shot to play, especially Sunday Night Football. They have a little bit more time to get right. But Wan'Dale's been a guy, I believe he missed a lot of training camp and some of the preseason on a PUP list. He's not really worth putting into your fantasy football lineup. Like the Giants added a lot of pass catching help, very underwhelming, but guys like Paris Campbell, he's been getting a lot of buzz. And I think he's going to be really valuable in this Brian Daboll offense because of how versatile Paris Campbell, and they added Jalen Hyatt, who's a speedster you can go to over the top. And of course, they bring back Hodgins and Slayton. So I'm not sure how much of an impact Wan'Dale Robinson is going to have. Waller's the big one. Waller's somebody that you once could have had in the 5th round, and all of a sudden his ADP shoots up about a round and a half, 2 rounds as we headed into the final few weeks of fantasy draft season. So all of a sudden that injury discount we were paying for Waller is not there, but we know if Waller's on the field, how impactful he is to the Giants offense, Daniel Jones, and your fantasy football lineups. And ESPN's Jordan Raanan reported that Waller was dealing with, in quote, some injury tightness late this week. But he was moving well in Friday's practice that he was limited in and receives a questionable tag. I'm going to prepare as if Waller's going to play. The fact that Raanan is saying that he was moving well in practice is a really, really good sign. Now, if Waller doesn't play, the good thing is in most of your standard type of fantasy leagues, you could go to the tight end waiver wire and pick up a guy like maybe Jake Ferguson from Dallas who wasn't drafted. And the good thing is they both play on Sunday night. So if you have to make that pivot and Ferguson is still there, you can easily do that. Or you can just pick up Waller's direct backup, Daniel Bellinger.
I was just going to say Daniel Bellinger. Part of that's because I love Daniel Bellinger. I've been hot on him since last season, and he did start to show out until he got gouged in the eye, which that was one of the most brutal injuries I've seen in a long time. All right, so I agree with you. Waller will be on the field. Wan'Dale Robinson was never going to be an impact player anyway. Long term, if you're a dynasty manager and you're holding on to Wan'Dale, should you be concerned now that this is 2 straight seasons where the dude just isn't healthy?
Yeah, there is some concern there. There's also that concern I was saying earlier about how much usage is Wan'Dale Robinson going to get. I mean, this is a Giants team that moved off of Kadarius Toney, so they don't mind moving off earlier draft picks. So again, when you have a guy like Hodgins and Hyatt and Paris Campbell and Slayton and Shepard, yeah, there's going to be injuries to worry about, especially with guys like Sterling Shepard. But I worry about how much usage you're going to get out of Wan'Dale Robinson. I don't know what you can get if you can sell him off, but if he does have a big game at any point this season, I'm probably selling high.
Yeah, the same. So what I'm hearing comparison to Kadarius Toney, and that's concerning. That really concerns me. And what it also means is that Wan'Dale Robinson will likely be a Kansas City Chief next season. Wide receiver 1 year incoming next year in Kansas City for Wan'Dale Robinson. You heard it here first, folks. So the next one I want to talk about here, Anthony, and this one could have a little bit more impact for people's fantasy rosters. In Green Bay, wide receiver Christian Watson has been ruled out for the Sunday matchup against the Bears, and wide receiver Romeo Doubs is questionable. There isn't a ton of talented depth on this wide receiver core, Anthony. Is there anybody you think will step up? Is this a problem for Jordan Love wanting to play him? Are you maybe looking at Luke Musgrave as a guy you can start this week?
The Packers are very, very young in terms of pass catching talent. When you look at what they do have, and Doubs and Watson, they've both been dealing with this injury, but Watson's now ruled out. That's significant because Watson did play well, I believe it was against Philadelphia last year in the second half with Jordan Love. If you're starting Jordan Love in any type of fantasy football format, including Superflex, I'm a little bit worried if I'm a fantasy football manager. He's somebody I need to wait and see first because, I believe if Jordan Love was anything special, the Packers would have moved off Aaron Rodgers a lot sooner than this offseason because he hasn't exactly had the best relationship with the front office. Yes, I'm very much worried about Jordan Love with or without Christian Watson and if Romeo Doubs gets ruled out. But the next man up is probably Jaden Reed, another young rookie. So there's a lot of inexperience that Jordan Love is going to have to throw to. And yes, maybe they can gel and grow together. I'm not too sure if it happens in week one. And then you bring up Musgrave. We saw Sam Laporta have a really nice game last night in his NFL debut, but we know tight ends don't always translate this quickly. But if we're in a situation where both Watson and Doubs are ruled out, Musgrave could be a nice sneaky play in PPR leagues.
Yeah, I like that. I like Musgrave in PPR. And then how does this affect Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon? I mean, these are the two veteran guys on this team. And if you're without Doubs and Watson, do we see a huge uptick in what AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones do this Sunday?
I would expect an uptick in the usage of both of those running backs, even if these wide receivers were healthy. Green Bay wants to run the football. I think all the signs that they're showing is that they're going to run the football, and they need to run the football to take some of the pressure off of Jordan Love, especially early in the season. Even if Jordan Love is a competent quarterback, this is his first real NFL action and his first first action as a starting quarterback. You need to get the running backs involved early and often and kind of let Jordan Love pick the defense apart off like a play action pass, things like that. I would almost treat him like a Daniel Jones.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I can see that. Yep. I don't hate that comparison. All right. Next team we're going to talk about here. We've got the Carolina Panthers. Wide receiver DJ Chark has been ruled out officially, and wide receiver Adam Thielen is questionable. Is this bad news for Bryce Young this week, Anthony?
This is another situation, and you're going to see a trend when I'm talking about rookie quarterbacks or guys like Jordan Love. It's very hard for me to buy in. Like even Anthony Richardson, like I like Richardson's ceiling because he's elusive. He's going to take off and run. Bryce Young is undersized. How much of a beating can he actually take if he starts taking off? And if you look at this wide receiver unit, the veteran Adam Thielen and Chark, who's oft injured, there's a lot of I'll use the word mid players on this offense. I think this is a big opportunity this season for Hayden Hurst, obviously friend of the Faceoff Sports Network. I think he could have his biggest season in terms of targets and overall production. So Hayden Hurst is the guy in this offense, the pass catcher in this offense I like in a PPR scoring format. And when we get Adam Thielen in the lineup, I think Thielen has some veteran touchdown upside here. But, Chark is a better best ball play because of his boom bust variance.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I really like Hayden Hurst, and I like him even more this week now, given the situation. And to be fair, I was out on DJ Chark this season. I had really no interest. I didn't really draft him this season. And Adam Thielen, Anthony, I feel like people are sleeping on this guy. Like, sure, eventually he's going to stop producing, but he's essentially kind of just a red zone target at this point in this offense. All you're asking him to do is what he did in Minnesota, is just catch touchdown passes.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of Thielen, admittedly. But my final FFPC draft of the year this week, he fell to me in round 16, and I couldn't pass him up. That is ridiculous.
No, you can't. That is ridiculous. All right, now we are going to move over to the AFC West, the Denver Broncos. This is a team that has just been pummeled at the wide receiver position this season. KJ Hamler, gone for the year. Tim Patrick, gone for the year. Now Jerry Jeudy got hurt. And this is is this concerning? Because Anthony, again, this is where we keep seeing these recurring soft tissue injuries. And I don't want to say injury prone, but is Jeudy ever going to have a full healthy season? And him being questionable, if he doesn't play, are we looking at a situation where he's out 4, 5, 6 games?
The good thing with Jerry Jeudy is that he suffered this injury in training camp preseason, and the reports initially were negative. But as we got closer to the start of the regular season, I think it was a Tuesday, like the JT deadline day, when all the teams had to, make their final 53 roster for the regular season and decide, who's going on PUP, who's going on IR. The Denver Broncos elected to not put Jerry Jeudy on IR, which would cost him 4 games. That tells me they expect him to be back sooner rather than later. And all of these practice reports seem to be positive. So even if Jeudy doesn't play this week, I expect him back next week at the soonest. I think this is actually really good for Jerry Jeudy. And he was never a guy I bought into, but he impressed me last season with how bad that team was. Jerry Jeudy stuck out to me. I think his ADP was fair, but after he suffered that injury, his ADP fell to like the 6th round. And I couldn't pass him up. So this is a gift. The fact that you can get a guy like Jeudy in the 6th round, and all of a sudden he might even play week 1, if not as soon as week 2. And you were buying him as if he was going to miss a month.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I wasn't a big Jeudy guy either. But what he did at the end of last season, I believe it was from week 13 on, he was the overall PPR wide receiver 3. If he's on the field, this is a guy that I want shares of. And if you can get him inexpensive in Dynasty because people are worried about the injury, it's definitely a guy you should kick the tires on. Now, here's a kind of a follow-up question to all this stuff with Jerry Jeudy. If he doesn't play, Anthony, who does this elevate? Are we looking at a Cortland Sutton week? Are we looking at a Dulcich week? Are we looking at maybe a Marvin Mims week? Do you have any interest in starting any of those guys with Jeudy out?
No. If anybody, Marvin Mims. I'm not a Cortland Sutton guy. I feel like we kind of know who Cortland Sutton is. Like, even Jeudy popped in this offense last year, and Sutton just continues to be Sutton, whether it's injuries or other things. I just don't think he is what the fantasy football community thought he would be. And then when it comes to Dulcich, what worries me is that I believe I saw a report that Adam Troutman is listed as a starting tight end. And yet Dulcich had a nice couple weeks last year, but this is now Sean Payton's team. He brought a lot of Saints over, including Troutman. So I'm probably laying off at Dulcich altogether until I see how this usage falls out.
Well, you know what I think's interesting? I did a dive into Adam Troutman earlier this week for a Fantasy Pros article. And his best season was in 2021 with Sean Payton.
Yeah.
The guy had he not gotten hurt, he was having some high-end tight end 1 weeks, 19, 20 points. In this offense with Russell Wilson, if he gets traction, that does worry me for Dulcich. Troutman's a great handcuff to have if you don't already have him, if you can call him a handcuff. And we know depth charts can be deceiving, but I definitely would kick the tires on Adam Troutman, especially if Jerry Jeudy misses any significant time.
We have to remember, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I had a thought pop in my head that when Sean Payton initially was brought in to be the head coach, he came out and said, hey, I do not like this tight end room. And they traded Alberto, and now we're seeing Dulcich already fall in the depth chart. But Payton was very much vocal about how he felt about Denver Broncos tight ends.
Yeah, he was. I mean, and trust me, being in Denver, I heard an absolute ton of it. So I think Adam Troutman might be the guy. He might be the tight end to roster in the Denver Broncos. So we're going to move on. We've got 2 little quick hits here. We just wanted to cover for you guys because there have been questions about these players, and we want to make sure that you don't have questions. Washington wide receiver Terry McLaurin was cleared to play this week, guys. You can start him confidently. And if Sam Howell is even a quarter of what we thought he was going to be, or what he's been told, we've been told he's going to be, this could be a huge season for McLaurin.
Yeah, this is another gift, almost similar to Jerry Jeudy, where the injury forced the ADP down, as did the Jahan Dotson hype. And all of a sudden, Terry McLaurin, who's somebody I didn't really roster through the years, and it's not because of talent. I fade guys because of situation. And McLaurin was like a 3rd-round pick at some points. And now, like, you're getting McLaurin as such a discount where I have a lot more exposure to him because I think price adjusted to situation. So I'm happily rostering and possibly starting Terry McLaurin against this atrocious Arizona Cardinals defense. It's going to be bad in Arizona.
Yes. It's going to be so bad.
When it comes to Howell, I know this is going off track. He's probably going to look sensational in week 1 against the Cardinals. He looked really good against Dallas, but he's going to face a gauntlet in his next 3 games, I believe, against Buffalo, Philly, and I'm forgetting the 3rd defense. So we're going to know who Sam Howell is. Not this week. He's going to look good this week. But in the following 3 games, it's either going to be really good or we could be looking at Jacoby Brissett in October.
So we could be looking at Jacoby Brissett. It wouldn't shock me. Now, the last one I want to touch on here, Anthony, this is kind of a strange story. Not strange story, interesting story, I suppose. We'll have to see how it plays out. But New England running back Rhamondre Stevenson is now listed as questionable with a stomach illness. Given that it's Friday, though, don't we think he's probably going to play on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, I heard on national radio that there might be a bug going around the Patriots locker room. It's an illness. But the expectation is obviously Rhamondre Stevenson will play against the Philadelphia Eagles. So I don't think you should worry there, barring any type of weird setback. What you should worry about is something I've been pounding the drum on, that Ezekiel Elliott could be one of the biggest steals in fantasy drafts, especially because of what he can do in the goal line situation. Zeke is also a very capable pass catcher, capable pass blocker, and can do a lot of the same stuff as Ram can, only, obviously a step slower because of his age. But the fact that New England moved off of a lot of running backs after bringing in Zeke tells me that Zeke is going to have a role in this backfield. So, yeah, obviously, like Ram is a really good running back, but I think the fumbleitis that Bill Belichick does not like, and the fact that Ram kind of tapered back or tapered off towards the end of the regular season last year tells me that Zeke's going to be involved early and often. So if you think Zeke is washed and you passed on him, I think that's going to hurt you in your fantasy leagues anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a very fair point. I wasn't super excited about that signing at first, but the more I really thought about it, I mean, you're right. Ezekiel Elliott this could be a reimagining of his career for the next 1 to 2 seasons. I mean, we're not going to get too crazy about it, but all right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in for our injury report. When things happen, we will be here for you. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Our news desk, anything major that happens, we are on it. We have immediate fantasy impact for you in short 1 to 2 minute videos so you can go about your day. So again, like this video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and we'll see you next time.